The interesting thing about last night is that it went out and reaffirmed something that a mentor said that I heard, but I feel like last night I experienced it. So, what the mentor said was this: as you go on and kind of get better socially, it's that certain things are kind of the things that you think about consciously will kind of be handled unconsciously, right? That, like, that's what progress looks like. That along the way to that, there'll be clumsy mistakes, oversights, and things like that. But uh, that as you really get much deeper into it, those things that you normally, I think the word he used was that are normally like on your dashboard of kind of priorities or objectives or things to think about or whatever else, that like dashboard just like seeps down, right? It's not anything that you're having to like control, like you're like turning and twisting the dials as you need to, but you're doing that without really having to think about it. And I feel like last night was the first time since hearing that I really felt it. Uh, like the interactions that I was in, they they felt like easier and more seamless than I had realized, like than I have like generally had before. Um, it was like a very good night in that sense, and across multiple different people. But the thing that sticks out to me as well is that the night before I feel like had an impact. I feel like the night before went very, very well, um, and it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it, and I felt really good after that, and I felt like the word I felt was loose. I felt loose, loose, and also calm. And coming into the next day, Saturday, I felt that again, not to the same extent as Friday night, but I definitely felt loose, and I feel like it showed. I feel like it showed. Uh, First, like getting to the venue, which is multiple floors, 3 floors, different DJs on each floor, different kind of setup space wise on each floor. But I'm kind of hanging out in the first floor. Walking to the first floor, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna check out this DJ on the first floor for a while, and turned out to be pretty good. Right, I was getting down a little bit. Um, Certainly, as they say, vibing. But ran into some people I knew, started talking to them, all good. Uh, Also still vibing, and yeah, just a good old time. Uh, Not the busiest night at Flash for sure, but but I still had a good time. I still had a good time. Uh, to like, yeah, well, I was gonna say, first I was gonna say one interaction that sticks out to me the most, then I was gonna say two, then I was gonna say three. I'm trying to be mindful of the time a little bit here, so I don't know if I'm gonna go into super detail, but I keep reaching out for this. The second time I've done it for this little thing, just as like something to play with my hands. But then I'm also like that would be like jaw distracting. So I will leave it there for now. But the urge is for me to grab it is still present. Uh, yeah, completely sidetracked. Looking at the lights and wondering how bright they will be on the video when I look at this back. But for another time, the three interactions. I'm just going to talk about them briefly in detail. One, woman I'd seen before, woman I like, and I wanted to show that a bit more. And so I think I did. Honestly, I think her friend was there, and the place doesn't allow like photos or videos on the dance floor. But I think the friend wanted to record us having a conversation. And specifically, I think what she really wanted to record was me and the way I was looking at her friend to show you, like, look at this on video. He really likes you because he wouldn't be looking at you this way if he didn't. Um, I think she's like trying to be slick and sly with it, but like was not at all because I think she's just like overjoyed. I'm like, let me, like, but then also got like nervous when I was like, turned around and I was like didn't say it, but just turned around the vibe like, what are you doing? As you can also maybe hear, my voice is not I would say it's at its normal level, but that's from wearing down, getting tired. That was actually some feedback I got a little bit on Friday that they couldn't hear me, and that's normally something I like do very well, even in environments as loud as that. Um, and I think I like heard the feedback. After the second time, I was like, I'm gonna make sure people don't have to say that again. Like but I think also what I need to be doing sometimes is like stepping a little bit closer to have the closer conversation, as opposed to staying a little bit farther back. I think I need to be a little bit more comfortable with pushing that boundary of what I feel comfortable in terms of closeness. I think it would be welcomed in many cases, for sure, and I think it would be beneficial in the cases where it is welcomed to step in. So yeah, second interaction that sticks out. Woman met for the first time through a mutual friend. And I felt like the thing that sticks out was what I mentioned in a couple other of my recent videos, is that I was much better at just talking and talking and talking, um, keeping the conversation going, keeping the vibe going, and certain little things like being like asking deeper questions and being a little bit more playful and teasing, in like a banter-ish sort of way, kind of like uh oh no, you're not one of those types, are you? But sometimes it was like an intentional misinterpretation on my part. So for example, she's like, oh, I price products, and I was like, oh, so you're saying you're a drug dealer? And then she like tried to explain more. No, also I think like first I accused her of being a spy. Um, she's like, "I'm not a spy," and I was like, "Okay, I hear you. That's exactly what a spy would say." So we're keeping it professional, you know. Okay, I get it. um, but yeah, yeah. The other thing that sticks out to me about that was like there was one clear sign that like yeah, there was one clear sign that I didn't quite pick up on like in the moment, but maybe within like soon after, I'm gonna say, I don't know, maybe like 20 seconds after I kind of addressed it. And the comment was basically along the lines of like, I like you. I think initially I was like, uh, well, I wasn't expecting that. Um, but then, came back and was a little bit like, okay, cool. And I'm being like very, 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 very mild in terms of like my summary of the conversation is want to be more specific, but part of me feels like I should be more specific, and part of me is like, mm, with that one, don't go into as much detail. Uh, so I'll leave it shrouded in mystery. It's actually probably not. You guys are probably like smart enough to maybe watch these videos and you can read me like a book. You can know what I'm thinking even when I'm not saying it. That would be kind of cool. Maybe it would also be like also not a good thing, but maybe it would be kind of cool. Um, Third interaction that stuck out the most. This one was a little one where I felt like I should have pushed the gas pedal a little bit more, turned up the knob a little bit more when I had the opportunity to. And there were a couple of times I had opportunities to actually. So um, that's what sticks out to me about that one. There was opening and that even reminds me of like the night before Friday. This is probably gonna sound crazy, but I'm like this is what actually happened. I said something to the girl about dancing, um, or maybe she made a comment about. I think I said something to her about dancing, and I think she made a comment about the way I dance and asked about like stretching, in terms of like how far I could go with my legs or something like that. But I ended up doing like a little like it's almost like a Cossack squat, but just like a lean over and like something like that. Like, but definitely like the lean part. Um, and I'd been dancing vibing, so it wasn't no thing to me. Yeah, it was just like okay, it's kind of fun. Like, and somebody like interacting with it. All right, cool. It wasn't like do the dance move, do the dance move, boy, entertain me. It wasn't. I didn't certainly didn't feel like that to me. Um, do the dance move, dance for me. While losing my train of thought. Also, I will say, like, almost midnight on the Sunday night. Um, Left the house at about 2:15. Just got back maybe 45 minutes ago. Um, so a long day. After back of being on the back of being out Saturday, on the back of being out Friday, on the back of being out Thursday. Uh, so again, you can probably hear it in my voice, but a little bit worn down. Stop making excuses, Jamal. These are just also facts. And honestly, that's where I'm at. That I'm not at the levels I've been at before, but hey, that is what it is. And I think it's for a good reason. So with the last one, yeah, the story. My gosh, I did that, and then she did a full split, like right in front of me. Bam. And honestly, what went through my mind was like, that's appealing. uh, yeah. So talk with her a few times, where I had to like reinitiate the conversation. So that was, I feel like, one thing I did much better. Where sometimes they walked off and I just been like, oh, they're gone. But definitely like with her, I went back in a couple of times. But also she had like a friend that was like very very drunk and like the wandering sort of drunk. So like her keeping watch over her friend did interrupt us. Um, but yeah, yeah. Like the thing that also sticks out was like she was dancing with this one dude. You know, I'm just saying that's the butt style where dude's behind her, she's in front. You know, I should maybe do a more more. I'll do a sideways view. So dude's in back, yeah, you know, Girls in front. Ooh. Completely off the rails. I'm not gonna go more graphic than that description. Not right now. Not in this video. Use your imagination or the internet. Whatever. So they're doing that. I kind of come up to the side just because that's where it happens to be space. Uh, she and I end up making eye contact a couple of times, and like maybe the second time. So I think the first time, like what kind of went through my mind because I think she like turned around to like look at him, maybe even like wanting to like kiss him or something, but then like instead of like as she turned around, instead of like I expected her to like look up into his eyes, but she like turned around and looked, and it was almost like saw me and like paused, and then was like dancing with him, but it was like a little like far away dance. So they were, hey, his chest is on her back, and that close, and then now it's like arms distance away, and she's doing like a bunch of like jumping instead of like the grinding. It was like fast jumping as well. Like I was like, why is the girl so excited? I don't know, but yeah. Then like went back to dancing with him a little bit, and then second time like turned around and I was like, okay, I'm gonna hold the gaze a little bit longer this time, and did, and then she just walked away from him. But like went back to like the front of the room, and so I thought, okay, like I didn't quite, I didn't turn around and track where she was like or like that, but I could tell like from the way she was going, it was also towards the way of the bathroom. So I was like, okay, I'm not about to follow somebody to the bathroom. Like, nah, I'm not doing that. Um, but I did think, okay, like I'd like to talk to her at some point. Um, like I took that as a sign of interest of like, I have been here dancing with this dude and that's cool, but see somebody else that I like better, and we gonna see where that goes. Or maybe I don't like this dude that much now. Well, whatever, no judgment. Just reporting. It's like it's all my opinion. Um, and my perspective. Uh, so yeah, walks away from the dude, comes back out. Like I said, end up talking to her a few times. There's also like someone else that's very much interested in her. That was different than the dude she was dancing with, and she has some familiarity with him. They're these two dudes, and so it seems like she's more familiar with him, but her friend and the other guy are the friend is just like wandering, like ignoring the dude. So maybe they tried to two man it. The friend is wandering off, and that the guy that actually had more of a connection now um, is having a bit of a harder time getting the one on one part, right? I think he was all. It was kind of clear to me as well that he like also wanted to like dance with her, but was like a bit holding back, not being forward, and she was not. She was also a little bit like there's sometimes he would like awkwardly try and come in, and they should be like, oh, no, this amount of distance is fine. uh, but yeah, so again, all that didn't let it deter me. Because also in my mind it was clear like okay, they're not girlfriend and boyfriend, like that's not their relationship. But yeah, I think the whole point of the story in the first place where I initially thought of it was like she did the splits, and if I had recognized that in a different way at the time, would have pushed my foot on the gas pedal a little bit harder. but I think I just took it at the time of like, oh, I was doing a stretch and you were doing a stretch as well. But I think it was also a bit of like, I'm doing a kind of showing off for you because I like you. And I think I should have looked at it that way, and almost kind of like a nervous way, or like a wanting to impress you sort of way. Whereas I just looked at it as, um, oh, okay, interesting, or like amusing. Um, but not as like, even as a way of like, I'm doing this to share a bit of myself with you, and I would like you to share more of you with me now. There's also this joint on Friday. That was the other thing that made me think about that and talk about in the other video. The 100-minute rant. Um, Great video. Great video. Uh, this one girl, like, I don't know if I said hello to her or waved or both or something like that, but so like she was with her friends, like her and two of the friends. I think she was maybe in the middle. So like the first friend walks by, I kind of look over, see her, like hold the eye contact definitely a bit longer. She's also like looking at me, and then like look briefly at the third friend, because that was the order they walked in. One, two, three. That was the first, second, and third friend, right? So I saw her later, and she was there, like, but she was like scuttling off with her friends, like, but then also looked back and was like, and like. And so but like again in my mind, it was like, okay, she's like scuttling off and like leaving but like it was going to a different part of the venue. So I was just like, okay, I'll they're going somewhere else. I'll let them go. But like the thought didn't like really come into my mind of like, that's a very clear, obvious signal, bro. Like I was just like, oh, that's sweet. She likes me, but she's going off. Whereas I feel like I should have been like, that's an obvious enough signal to where you should follow up, because it was an attractive young woman. And I like the vibe, like, and even like the little nervous energy. She seemed like a sweet person, um, and fun. So yeah. What was the whole point of where I started? Oh yeah, just that. The whole point of that was that when I was out on Saturday, I had those three interactions. The the dashboard was cleaner, right? The different things that I would normally be thinking about in my mind, I wasn't consciously thinking about them as much. The continuing to talk and talk and talk, I was certainly much better at that with each of those uh, three examples, and even like a fourth example, right? That was probably, well, the guy was the longest conversation actually, probably of the night. Second longest. And I wasn't thinking about it as much. The self amusement, the being loose, that was there to a greater degree than before, and I wasn't thinking about it as much. Um, the little like playful teasing, that was there, and I wasn't thinking about it as much. I was incorporating that without thinking about it as much. Um, the bit of like asking questions to see where they're at as well, almost like, would you questions that are almost like, would you be the type of person that I would be into? And that sounds very like maybe harsh and specific, or just even the tone of that, but like the way it was delivered again was like playful, and I didn't quite set it up in that judgmental way. So this is one, I don't think I asked this, but I think I think the question was along the like, what type of events do you like to go to most? Would it be like a kind of club, or would it be a concert, or would it be book club or something like that? I think that was along the lines of the question I asked. But I feel like the implication, particularly at the time in the conversation, was also like, I want to know more about you to see if you are the type of person that I would have things in common with. And I think that is a good thing and was a good thing in those particular interactions. Um, yeah, because I think like to the extent as well that it's something that is uncommon, kind of niche about the other person, and you can both connect with that. I think that helps them feel good to be like, oh wow, we have this rare thing in common that is rare and is cool, right? So yeah, with that, like the experience of like being able to observe those things happening in real time, to be like part of my intuition and just like coming out and natural me just being myself, as I talked about in the other video. um it was a cool experience. It was fun. It was, honestly, it felt easy at some points. So welcoming that, yes please, to that. And maybe I'll record another video to talk about today, and how easy or hard that was. So you all take care. I will see you soon. Thank you, and I love you.